All right, we are live for another episode of Real Estate Junkies Podcast. Today we bring you Jonathon Haddad. He is, who has over a decade in the industry, real estate mortgage industry, owner of a leading mortgage brokerage, $1 billion in closed volume. John has shaped the dreams of countless homeowners into reality. Discover John's journey in this episode through the complexities of the mortgage industry, his dedication to excellence, and how his team's integrity and personalized service makes the homeownership journey seamless for their clients. We will dive deep into the world of business with Jonathon and unlock the secrets to building successful businesses as he has with his mortgage business. And you don't want to miss out on the opportunity to elevate your knowledge of business and join us on this conversation of excellence in business through impeccable mindset. Jonathon, it's a pleasure finally having you on the podcast, bro. I've been waiting for this episode for a while now.
Thank you for having me, man. I was pumped when we reconnected, and I was really excited to get it set up, man. So you and I've had some good conversations, and no, this will be a lot of fun. I've got a lot on my mind. I'll tell you that much. I'm pretty caffeinated this morning, so I'm ready to go.
For sure, yeah. Well, lucky for you, right? Not fasting. Now, look, I've been following you for a while, right? I see everything that you're doing. I came out and visited you guys in your office. The incredible culture that you're building. Tell us, just to start this conversation, how'd you come across the mortgage industry? How'd you get into it? Give us a little snippet of what that journey was like. How did mortgage find you, or how did this business find you?
Yeah, yes, sir. So it started I was about 20 years old, and been helping my family. I'm Middle Eastern, first generation. And so part of the culture, as the oldest son, is you help out. And that's just very standard. And it's funny because a lot of people are always like, whoa, what? Buy that, because it's not common. And it's something that I took a lot of pride in. But I was bartending, and I actually had left college for a bit because I wanted to help my family out. So I was bartending full time, having a lot of fun with it, learning how to talk to people, engage. But I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings in Westland, Michigan. And that one off Wayne Road, for those that know there, I spent some time there. And one day this guy comes in, and you didn't get a lot of clients like this. And he had the Rolex on, he had the Burberry scarf, he's got the nice shoes. And as a young 20-year-old man, those are things that you are interested in, especially when you don't have anything like that. So I took great care of him. I gave him excellent service. I still remember his order to this day. And anyway, when it ended, he loved my service so much, he pulls me aside. He's like, how much money you make? And I said, what? That's a weird question. He said, how much money you make? So I tell him. He's like, you want to make triple? I was like, who do I got to kill? What are you talking about right now? So he tells me about mortgages, and he explains all of that. So I was like, okay, let me go see what that's about. So I went, did like the pre-interview. This was at Rocket Mortgage back in the day. Never heard of a mortgage, understood a mortgage in my life. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll do this. I was contemplating going back to college, but I went to my grandma and I said, Teta, like, what do you think? And she said, listen, this is from God, and school's always going to be there. But if you don't like it, then don't take it. And that's fine. You can quit. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I took it and I exploded very, very quickly. I didn't realize, how much money you could make, and I wasn't capped on the hours. I'm a 100-hour a week kind of guy. And so I was literally 100 hours a week. I got pulled into HR's office, and they were like, are you okay? I said, am I in trouble? I'm fine. So they just checking in on me, and that was it. I took off on my 22nd birthday. I received the biggest paycheck of my life, and paid off my parents' debt, paid off my debt, and I just kept running with it and did that for about 6 years or so. And that's how that journey started. I made it a career very, very quickly. And now here I am, Next Door Lending. We're coming up on our 5 years in business. Last year, we did a little over $800 million in production. We are a top brokerage in the nation, and I still originate. So I still do loans myself while doing everything else. And then I also just became the CEO of AIM, the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts, where we're representing mortgage brokers across the country, showcasing to them that, we're just much better for the consumers. So that is the journey in a nutshell there for you.
Look, though, when I first met you, right? Like when I first ran into you, we had a conversation. I knew this guy is different. Like this is a different animal, right? So
Thank you.
you're with an over a decade of experience in the industry. Can you share the mindset shifts that you had to go through, right? Like people don't see that, people don't experience that because you're just kind of going through that on your own. The mindset shift that you had to go through that was crucial for this transition from being new in the industry, then becoming a broker yourself, now owner of this successful brokerage, you guys blowing this thing up all over the place, right? Like what is that mindset shift for you?
Yeah. So one of the big sorry about that, light went out,
Yeah.
but I mean, who cares? We're live. It's fun.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest, there's been a few mindset shifts. So I'm going to put it to you the best way possible. So whenever you start in a new career, right, there's always that sense of excitement up front. And I think that's for everybody. And that sense of excitement only lasts a certain amount of time before you start looking at it as a job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first mindset shift happens when you start to get burnt out. So especially in real estate, right? 80 hours, 100 hours. And look, when you're making money, like during COVID, agents are making money, loan officers are making money. It's easier for you to like have that mindset constantly. So the first shift for me was the market shifting. And this is years back, And so I'm like, okay, do I want to do this? Is this really big for me? My mentor told me, he said, you're going to want to quit twice. And he said, when you can get through both of those, you're never going to quit the industry. But you got to get through the first 2 times you want to quit. He was right. The first one popped up, was a market shift. And also I was getting pressure from a leadership standpoint because I was a leader and I didn't grow up with that pressure. So, I would take things personal. Someone's attacking me, or they're not attacking, but if someone's trying to help me, I would look at it as, oh, you're attacking me. So mindset shift is, one, just know you're going to have a bad month. That's the first thing. Real estate, I always tell people we're nut jobs. We start at zero every month and we put a smile on our face and say, please do it again. So that's the first shift, is understanding that the market is going to go down. You're not going to have perfect years every year. And then how do you deal with it mentally? So that's shift number one. So for me, I had to learn that, okay, I understand that it's not about what happens every month. I started looking at it as years, but it requires you to be in the industry a couple of years to understand that the ebbs and flows, this doesn't matter. I don't care about January, February, March. I care about 2023, 2022. I know I'm going to be like this, and then a little down, a little up. So getting your mind infatuated with that first is number one. Number two is you have to start being very introspective and really understanding yourself. So here's what I mean. You're going to get to a place where you're getting so much heat, so much pressure that you're going to think you can't handle it and that this is too much, it's not worth it. The reality is it's just because of how you look at it. So you have to look at life in two ways. There's perspective and perception. So perspective is there's perception. So perception is, how do I, John Haddad, how does this situation affect John Haddad? Perspective is, how do I look at it from a bird's eye view and say, how does this situation actually impact the overall goal that I might have? So you have to start training your mind into thinking this not about you and how it affects you, but how it affects your bigger picture and your goals. So if my goal is to, let's just say one of your goals is to save up enough money to retire in 15 years. That at that time, the perception is, I'm not going to make it. It's too hard. The market's adjusting. This is crazy. The NAR lawsuit. That's perception. This is affecting me now. Perspective is saying, wait, I can still get to my goal. I can still retire. How do I look at this in a different light? So those would be the two mindset shifts you really have to teach yourself to get through.
Wow. And maintaining that level of mindset, I'm pretty sure you had to surround yourself with the right type of people, right? Who are advising you, consulting you, giving you, supporting you, right? So what would be the single most impactful piece of advice that you have received early on, or whether, throughout your journey here, that shaped your approach to real estate and mortgage and your business?
So his name's Stephen Luigi Piazza, the most beautiful man ever. He passed away 6 years ago. I bought 100 of these, and I've never taken it off my wrist, ever. I have his quotes all over the place. I have his pictures all over the place. I have a pair of shoes that he wore. I love this man to death. And he made the biggest impact. He would say a bunch of things to me. that were all funny. But now when I look back, the older I get, I teach my team this stuff. He would say things like, "You're not at your best when you spend time awfulizing all day." So that was really impactful for me to hear that. He would say, and this is on my wall, "It's a great day to have a great day." He would tell me, "Hey, you know what you're really good at?" I would say, "What?" He'd say, "Being you." And then he'd walk away. This guy changed everything for me. The biggest thing that he changed for me was my leadership style. So my leadership style is a little different than a lot of people's, but I was getting results. I was finishing number one. My teams were exploding, and I was still getting pressure. Like, you gotta be harder. You gotta do this. You gotta yell at people. And that's not my plate. And I would think like, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong, but I'm finishing number one. And one day he gave me the best advice I ever got in my life. He said, "Hey, John, just because you don't do it your way just because you don't do it their way doesn't mean your way is wrong." And so now my goal is to be that person. So I don't get as much peer-to-peer stuff anymore in terms of I just don't get a lot of that mentorship anymore. I do have a business coach that I talk to on a weekly basis, but at the level, it's hard to find other people that are able to, help you and adjust. But now I have to be that person. I have to be that light for my team. And I'm more than happy to take it over. I'm still learning a lot, but it's very, very hard to break my mindset, just to be completely upfront with you. I wake up ready to run through a wall. I mean, that's just how I wake up. I sleep 4 hours a night. I have for many years. But the second I'm up, I'm running all day long. It might not be the best for my, my nervous system, but I really don't care. So.
Hey, some people, they actually need that for their nervous system, right? And some people can handle it. So in an industry this dynamic as real estate, right? Like, how do you maintain a growth mindset? Like, what strategies do you use? Like, how do you wake up trying to run through a wall, right? Like, what strategies do you use that is helping you constantly evolve and stay ahead of the curve, right? Like, be ahead of everyone else, right?
Time blocks. The hardest thing to do is to learn to compartmentalize as a human being.
No.
People think you have to focus on the same thing for 8 hours a day. That's not true. No. So for me, I'm up at 4 and my day starts at about 6. So from 6 to 8, I have 2-hour call blocks, and that's how I can get through about 12 to 14-hour days. But these time blocks, I am working every single minute of these time blocks. So you have to learn how to get your brain to do that, because it is very exhausting. When I get home, it is hard, especially a newer dad of twins, for my wife and I. So that's thank you. And that's been a difficult journey, because because you can't predict that, obviously, with the twins. So that's been hard on my mental state. Yeah. But these time blocks are so important, and people are like, "Well, what do you do in these time blocks?" I don't know what to do. Well, then you learn. And so, well, what do I learn? Whatever interests you. What do you mean? Well, if you're in real estate, does the NAR thing interest you? Okay, great. Go learn about it. Go read about it. Are you curious about how commissions work, about how buyer exclusive agreements work? Are you curious about how to underwrite a commercial deal? Like, whatever it is, especially if you're not busy yet up front, I don't, it's very hard for me when someone says, "Well, I don't know what to do." That's just not a real thing to say. So if you can train your brain to work in these blocks, it has made my life very effective. That includes prospecting. That includes realtor meetings. I still originate. I still do realtor meetings. I still close loans. I'm still on the phones. I still take applications. But it's all time blocks. And then the hardest thing for me that I absolutely suck at, but I'm getting better at, is, the time commitments. Like, it's okay that I'm only available for this for 2 hours. I've earned that right. Yeah. I really have. And that's a hard adjustment for me to make, because, I want to get on the phones. I want to help right away, but I can't, because it'll crush the rest of my day. So you got to learn how to time block and be able to alter your brain to focus on one thing and change it to go to another without skipping a beat.
That's amazing. And this is what we teach in our academy, is that, hey, one of the number one habit hacks that any business owner, forget about real estate business owner, is to, live by, what we call is blackjack dealer method. If you really think about it in the casinos, if you observe, right, and this is not coming from me, this is from my coaches, right? If you look at it, every dealer do not deal cards, blackjack dealers, more than 45 minutes. Doesn't matter what casino you run into, because they have already figured out that science is that human brain cannot focus more than 45 minutes. But at the same time, it's opposite also true, is that human brain, if it focuses only on one thing for 45 minutes, it gets a lot done, right? So we teach that like as a ritual, right? So now again, being successful in real estate, it involves, I know this from experience, right? Overcoming significant challenges, right? Can you share some of the major obstacles that you have encountered, you have come across, and how did you turn them into opportunities for growth for yourself?
Yeah, I'll start owning a business. I think that's it's a vulnerable place to be, but it's real. Everybody that starts, like, it's not just glitz and glamour. I've never ran a business before. That's not my bag. I was going to keep it like this. If that's fine.
Yeah, it's cool, bro. It's cool.
That's not my background. My background isn't from that perspective as running a business. I've never done it before until I got to here. So for me, just having those conversations up front on how to run a business effectively is the most important piece. My first couple of years running a business was COVID. So you have this sense of lie because you're like, oh, it's all, we're crushing it, we're doing great. Then you start scaling, and then you need operations, and you don't realize operations, and you're trying to predict the market. So you're like, okay, COVID, this is going to continue, and then it doesn't continue. So learning how to adjust in the business to make decisions, and then having the mindset that, like, your business is like your family. You protect it at all costs.
Yeah.
And that's a hard mindset to have, right? But that's okay to have that mindset. So that's been the biggest struggle for me from running a business. From the actual real estate side, I won't lie, man. I have been very fortunate. I love people, and I've been able to connect with people at a very high level. So I haven't had many issues in terms of and I hate saying that because it sounds so pretentious, but I'm just being honest. I've just been able to build relationships fast. I got people that really love me and show a lot of support. I got people that are in my corner fighting for me every day. So I've been very fortunate to have that 10 years of just success from my personal side. The business side has been the most difficult. Running a team is always hard because, everybody's different and you make mistakes and you screw up. How to own those mistakes is very difficult. There's people that end up that's been hard for me, right? People that, they end up not liking you, and it's because of the business side, and you have to learn to accept that. So that's very, very tough as well, because we all, you don't want to be hated. You don't want people to not like you. I don't know anybody that wants to make everybody hate them. Yeah. And so learning how to deal with that mentally is also a big thing that you have to learn to adjust to, because it's not easy, but those would be the two biggest things from a struggle standpoint.
Yeah, I would say, look, in business, so sometimes people put it as there's two different extremes. One is that please everyone, right? Everyone has to be pleased, which is not real. I don't believe in that, right? But at the same time, another extreme, I have come across people like that. It's all business, right? No personal relationship, no care for anyone else or anyone else's interests. It's all me, right? And I think striking the balance in between those two extremes is probably the best way forward for any business owner. It doesn't matter what type of business you're in, right? Now, how do you approach, you guys seem like you're crushing your goals, right? How do you approach goal setting within your business for your team, right? Of course, someone as an overachiever like you, I'm sure you don't struggle with that, right? It's hey, this is what I want to achieve. I don't understand any reasoning, right? I have to achieve it, right? But then when it comes to team, when it comes to business, it's a whole different picture, right? How do you approach goal setting? And what advice would you give a real estate agent, broker, team leader about setting and achieving their objectives with their businesses?
So I'll tell you exactly what I mean to a T, okay? Mm-hmm. You have to break the mindset of instant gratification. That's the first thing you have to do. So what do I mean by that? How do we get paid, agents and loan officers, when the loan closes, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot has to happen for a loan to close. So what happens is you indicate your success based off your closings. Mm-hmm. And so what you need to do is you need to shift the mindset, not to instant gratification, but to other measures. Perfect example. It's all about the gamification process of pushing yourself towards different goals. So here's an example of it. My people know you get points. Okay, we have a point system if you go to open houses on the weekend. That's a win. Okay, That's not instant gratification. And at first, they're like, why? I'm like, that's how you develop relationships. So now I have a point system for that. You have a point system for posting on Facebook. You have a point system for Instagram. You have a point system for tagging me on your social media. We have all these different point systems set up, and then I just make them compete against each other. But I believe in those point systems so much. And then what happens? Well, what we found happens is when you start going off a point system, guess what follows? Success. So now we have clear measures and indications of the fact that consistently using this method of point systems is actually going to result in you getting more business. So the end goal isn't closing alone. The end goal is becoming a professional.
Yeah.
How do you become a professional? Not by just closing loans. That does not make you a pro. We know that. Why? No disrespect, but a lot of people in COVID, they have not made it through the journey so far. Real estate agents are leaving the market like crazy. Loan officers are leaving the market like crazy. Why? All they cared about was the instant gratification. So that is, I mean, that right there is your bread and butter. The science is there. The data is there. There's nothing anyone can tell me to change my mind on that.
So what I heard you say is that the you have to build the character through the process, right, of chasing your goals, right? And if you're not building that character, and to me it sounds like what you have set up is a reward system. It's like when you put in the work, you get rewarded through the points, and you're competing. And when competition creates professionals, right? If you look at professional athletes, why are they professional? Because they're competing against each other, right? And when they're not, it's just all games and fun, and there is no professionalism there, right? Now, networking and relationship, right? I know a big chunk of your business comes from, it's key components of your business success is that, you are building relationships. So how has your approach to building and nurturing professional relationships contributed to your success, and how do you build those relationships? Like, what are your focus when it comes down to like building professional relationships?
Yeah, my approach, first of all, it's spot on. And I will tell you one more thing so I don't forget. The other thing is setting the expectation. What I used to do early on is you would say things like, don't worry, I got you. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of this. I heard it from Jim Rohn, motivational speaker. He said something that now I tell my team every day. I'll work on me for you only if you work on you for me, because I'm not your savior. Okay. I am not your go. I'm not the reason you're going to make a ton of money. And that's too much stress for me. And I've done that on so many occasions, and it's just unfortunately, bit me in the ass, for lack of better words. So making sure people understand that, like, you got to put in the work. I'll give you the tools, but I'm not your go-to go-to person for that.
I'm not your guru, right? What Tony Robbins says.
yeah, exactly. To being your guru. I just didn't want to forget that. All right, back to your question. If you can ask it again, because I don't want to.
Yeah. Networking and relationship, right? Building, obviously, like that's the nature of. To me, it's like that's the nature of real estate business altogether. Whether you're on the mortgage side or the sales side, right? I guess, like, what do you focus on when it comes to building these professional relationships, right? Like vendor to vendor relationship, like business owner to business owner relationships, and how is that impacting, or in your vision, in your journey, how has that impacted your business?
Yeah, so I'll talk about agents first. So with real estate agents, the first thing for me, and this is just my belief system, you have to know where you stand. So what do I mean by that? When I first got into the broker space, I wasn't working. Wasn't working with agents. So for me to think that I should be working with $50 million producers is the most arrogant thing you could think of. So I tell my team that all the time. All right. First and foremost, target people that are in line with where you're at. That's fair, because these other people that have been doing it forever, they have connections everywhere. And I'm not saying it's a waste of time. You get to that place, but just know where you're at. Set realistic expectations. Maybe you start, with there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with, okay, I'm not ready for a $50 million producer. Yeah. I want to help work and build. So the first thing is I want to help build someone else's business. So with an agent, I tell my people, focus on 2 million, focus on 3 million. And you talk about partnership. I don't ask for cups of coffee. I don't ask for lunch. You're busy. Okay. I'm busy. As much as, I'd love to have a cup of coffee with you, you probably want to do other things, just in my opinion. Okay. Yeah. So that's the first thing, is like setting the expectations correctly on who you want to actually talk to. Number two, you got to just do it and rip the Band-Aid off. Number three, I never ask for business. Okay. I never, ever ask for business. What I do is I set it up to where I'm going to provide value add. So what do I mean by that? Because of my background personally, my approach is very different. It's like, hey, here's where I've been able to help and find success in my decade of doing this. Yeah. It's usually one of 5 areas. And a lot of the times when I talk to agents, they usually fall within inside these 5 areas. So number one,
if not all 5.
If not all 5, right? But number 1 is marketing and reels. Number 2 is sales development. Number 3 is technology. Number 4 is team building. And then number 5 is sales scripting. Yeah. So between those 5, which area do you believe you can use a little bit of extra attention to? Yeah. So I'm not saying like I can do this for you better than anybody else, because how do I know that? Someone else out there might be a dog. Yeah. Now, I do think I'm pretty good at what I do, but when I preface it like that, what happens is they'll pick 1 or 2. So if they say team building, I already have a pitch deck lined up. I'm so glad you brought that up. I've actually been developing teams for the last 10 years. I've developed some of the biggest teams in the country doing billions of dollars in business. I'd love to walk you through my strategy here. If you can take a look at my screen. And then right away, whoa, what is this? So now what do they want me to do? They want me to come in, do team exercises, team building. I've talked to, I'll even say it. He tells the story too, Justin Ford. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask Justin Ford for a single opportunity. It took 6 months. And he sent me a client after 6 months. And people would tell me, dude, you're spending so much time. Look, I want to spend the time. I like this guy. I really think there's value here. And if he doesn't send me business, so what? I have a friend. Yeah. You know how many agents like you and I, we don't do business together, but do we get along? Do I still like talking to you? Yeah. So who cares? I don't look at it as if I don't get business, it's a waste of my time. I look at it as, okay, here's a relationship that I can potentially build, business or not. And if business comes from it, thank God. And I'm so grateful for it. So the networking side, just get rid of the cups of coffee and just actually start providing value. John, I don't know how to provide certain value. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You are skilled. You are talented. You know what you're doing. You're a professional. You had to pass a test in order to be a licensed loan officer, in order to be a real estate agent. Don't you dare not take that into consideration. Yeah. And that's the confidence I try to instill in my people when it comes to networking.
And it's amazing. Well, what you are preaching, right, is actually goes in line with the concept in marketing called leveraging micro influencers, right? Meeting or going after agents that are, as mortgage loan officers, right? Agents that are at your level. There is still weight in that, right? Like imagine you're working with 10 of these versus one big shot, right? There's a lot more headache working with one big shot than, you work with 10 small ones. And then another principle you're teaching here is adding value over relationships over transactions, right? So when you are focused on your transactional, all you get is transaction. But if you are focused on transformation, you're focused on relationship, right? So that's amazing. All the stuff that I teach agents is the same stuff that you're preaching out there. Now, as far as, look, it takes 6 months, right, of you, the story that you said, of you adding value, with Justin and all of that. It took you 6 months to get a piece of business. It takes a different level of mental resilience, right? Like it takes a different level of mindset and commitment to what you truly believe in, right? Which is adding value, and hey, transactions will come, right? So obviously, I don't believe that everyone's born perfect, right? Nobody's born, sure. We are born sinless and we end up sinning, right? So everyone has their skeletons in their closets, right? So tell us, yes, you got here, you have this mental resilience now, right? And you wake up in the morning, ready to run through walls. But I'm sure there were times when your resilience was tested, right? So how have you managed to stay focused and motivated when it is tested?
So, I've been sharing this now more publicly. I'm getting a lot more comfortable sharing it. So here's what people don't know. Everybody thinks I'm just positive all the time. I deal with depression very, very heavily. I have a form of bipolar disorder that it makes me very manic. So my highs are high, my lows are low. They put me on meds about 7 years ago. I absolutely hated them. I was on them for a year. I got rid of my personality, and I called my doctor and said, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's not me. I've lost me. And I don't have the same drive anymore. My
Mhm.
doctor's like, we got to wean off, yada. And I said, I'm not weaning off. I cut cold turkey. And the reason I bring that up to you is, and I use the word deal. I don't say struggle because I don't struggle. I deal with it. And there are some people, unfortunately, in this world that they have it, they have the Jekyll and Hyde version of it, which you really do need help with. And I don't have that. And so I am fortunate to not have that side of it that can't be controlled.
Yeah.
The difference since I've come off the medication is I'm so aware of when I'm in my states and I become so dangerous. So when my highs are high, I just learn to take advantage of it because I don't need to sleep when my highs are high. I'm about 2 hours a night. My therapist actually at the time, she helped me. I was like, man, I just can't sleep. I'm staring at a wall. I don't know what to do. She goes, well, why don't you just get up and work? And I was like, huh? And she's like, why don't you try getting up and working? I said, okay. So that's what I started doing. And it worked for me. And then, I've set up very good barriers and issues like when I am in my depressive state, where my wife, she knows, my family knows, my people know. I tell people it is what it is, So now if I'm in the depressive state, what happens? My wife, she doesn't let me stay home. Get your ass out of bed. Nope, you're going. Let me just stay here another hour. No, get up, get up, get up. And that's helped me tremendously. So to answer your question, no, it's not rainbows and butterflies. Yes, I go through my moments. Here's my biggest difference, and I'll tell you this, and this is in the deepest part of my soul possible. I'm a perspective guy, man, like you wouldn't believe. I try to give perspective as much as I can. And here's the reality. Like you talked about 6 months. I don't think about 6 months. I think about, God willing, this is the truth. One day I'm going to be old. I hope I make it that far. And I have kids now, and I hope I have grandkids, and I hope I have friends and family. And one day I really think about this. They're going to ask me how great my life was. And the beautiful part about me is I'm never going to have to lie to them about how great my life was. And there's people in this world that are going to have to lie. And I refuse to let that be me, regardless of what I deal with, not struggle with. So to answer your question, man, yeah, it's that mental resilience is a problem. I know it's a problem, and I'm not going to be stopped because I'm very aware of what my struggles are. What I deal with, not my struggles. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, and true reality of this life, right, is that God didn't send us here to be comfortable, right? It's like the very essence of creation is to be tested, right? And I think a lot of us, because of the comfort around us and because of our environment and people that we surround ourselves with, we fall into this false perception that everything needs to be sunshine and rainbows, right? And if it's not, I need to work hard to get it there. And once it's there, it's just going to be there forever. That doesn't exist. It's a false perception, false reality that we create in our own minds that makes it more difficult, makes it more of a struggle, right? Instead of having to deal with it, if you have that false perspective of life, is that it needs to be sunshine and rainbows, right? So anyway, that very good answer, and I think I feel a lot more relevant to you with the highs are high and lows are lows. And my wife, if she listens to, she'll be like, wow, this guy and you are like the same thing. Now, from your experience, what common mindset traps, and I talk about mindset traps all the time with agents that I coach, what common mindset traps do you see real estate professionals, mortgage loan originators fall into, and how can they overcome these to enhance their productivity, enhance their success, take themselves to the next level, and avoid these mindset traps?
They don't have habits. It's the common reason for mindset traps, not having a habit. If when you learn to have a routine, and go look at any professional, and I'm a LeBron James fan. Some people might not like it. I don't care. He came into the league when I was in middle school. I don't care what you say. Sustained success is one of the most difficult things to achieve in this life. Yeah. And now he has the means, right? But he's earned those means. Earned those means. But look at his off season. Look at his routine. Look at what he does. People love a routine only when it works for them. And that to me is mind blowing. But if you can get yourself in a routine, right? You eat the same thing. I eat the same thing every week. I do it on Sundays. I put it in my app for the entire week. That way I already know what I'm eating. I already know my calories. And don't get me wrong, I've gone down my path. I've started to lose weight again, a little bit of stress. We deal with it. Yeah. The difference is I know what to do to get back on track. So the meals that I eat, the water that I'm drinking, the conversations that I'm having, my routine is so dialed in that it just makes it difficult for me to focus on anything else that doesn't have any effect or control on my life.
Yeah.
The mindset trap that people have is same one that you deal with on your side is, woe is me. I can't believe this happened. It's going to change the industry. And now I'm going to be screwed. It's similar. I mean, the NAR thing, right? That's a perfect example right now. And don't get me wrong. I get the conversation. What I don't get is the fact that you have no idea what's actually happening right now. So why are you letting it consume you? I'm not saying don't ask questions. I'm not saying don't reach out to professionals. I'm not saying don't have the convo. I'm saying don't pretend that you know exactly what this is going to do and how it's going to crush your business and hurt you. You don't. The market's going to play itself out. We already know that. Let's have the real conversations. But how are you letting this destroy your day? You're now losing opportunity because you're spending 2 to 3 hours with your hands on your head going, this is it. We're done. We're done. I can't believe this. We're done. And so that's the mindset traps that you got to learn how to get out of that by staying consistent and making sure that you stick to your schedule and your calendars. I really believe that.
And here is my formula, okay, to avoid all mindset traps. There's so many out there, right? Shiny object syndrome, limiting beliefs, and your imposter syndrome, and all that stuff, right? Like people can fall into. But here is 3 things that I teach that if you consistently abide by these 3 laws, right? I call it 3 laws of mindset. Number 1, everything happens for your good, no matter what it is. You fell and broke your leg, it happened for your good. You crashed in, and when I teach this, I tell my story of me crashing my car, the only car that I had at the time when I was getting into real estate. And if I allowed that to stop me, I wouldn't be here today, right? So if that car accident happened for people that I serve today, for their good, right? Not only for my own good, right? So everything, number 1 mindset rule or law is everything happens for good. So whatever happens to you, positive or negative, you always look for good that comes out of it. Number 2, you have to be in a constant state of gratitude. You have to be thankful for, and there is enough things for you to be thankful for, right? It doesn't matter if NAR thing or not. Just by opening our eyes this morning, we probably had, 200 things that we could be thankful for, right? And then the last one is be in a constant state of giving. You have to constantly give, and that could eliminate any of the ingratitude, any of the stuff that we are complaining about in life. If you constantly are looking for people to give to, you will always find people that have less than you, and that will make you more grateful and not fall into imposter syndrome, not chase shiny objects that are out there. Now, how important, like we talked about a lot about mindset when it comes to business owners, right? Now let's talk about how important is it to understand customer mindset in our industry, right? What strategies do you recommend for agents and mortgage loan officers to better understand and align with the client's perspective, their mindset, and to be able to serve them better?
So this is deep. So I won't go nuts into it. I feel like we could have a whole session on this because I have a whole mindset and philosophy on just talking to consumers and people. There's nothing wrong with, how do I say this? So I spend a lot of time reading psychology books. I spend a lot of time reading neuroscience and like the behavior of people.
Yeah.
And why do I say that? People are like, oh, it's manipulation. No, it's not. It's I don't know everything. So I need to learn how to have conversations. It's not just something you're born with. No. You're not born with, understanding how to speak to people and understanding how to connect with people. That's something that you have to continue to practice and preach and work on every single day. Yep. So the first thing that I tell people is be vulnerable. Rule number 1, be vulnerable. It's like very simple. Okay, ready? I'll give you an example. So talking to an agent for the first time. All right, ready? I'm the number 1 LO in the country. I do $100 million. Your clients are going to get to the closing table incredibly fast. I'm a hardworking guy that puts in 100 hours a week. I'm going to take great care of you. I'd love to meet with you. All right. Number 1. Number 2, listen, my life has been a different type of life. And I just want you to know what you're potentially getting yourself into if we figure something out and work together. So it's really important to me that we align on a few factors. The thing for me is hard work. And here's why I say that to you. I'm a first generation Middle Eastern American man. And my father grew up in a mud hut back home. And part of my journey is I had to start working at a very young age to help support and take care of my family. And I used to, go to school and I'd get picked up from the school and I'd go to work at my uncle's dollar store and I'd work till midnight. And I'd come home and give all that money to my parents to take care of them. And the reason I bring this up to you is because I just want you to know what you're getting into. Because what you get with me is not just what I'm doing now, you get my past. Because my past is what's put me in the position I'm in today. And I hope you can appreciate that. I'd love to learn more about you. Look at the difference in that conversation.
Yeah, the number 2 is definitely winning. The number 1, I'm running from. Like, as soon as I hear that stuff, like, I'm running.
Well, that's the vulnerability, though. Like, listen, man, it's okay to be vulnerable. And so what? Well, if I'm vulnerable, then they might not. Okay, then I don't align. If that's okay. If I'm vulnerable with you and it doesn't relate to you, that's fine. But that's my truth. I've been able to find more success having those conversations, and not just with agents, with clients as well. I'm always listening for things to relate to, always on the phone. You have to be actively listening all the time. You got to be the best therapist in the world when you're talking to consumers, and pay attention. Some people might not care about that background. Some people just might be analytical, dialed into the numbers. No. Great. If you're dialed into the numbers, you're an engineer. How did you get into that? Tell me about your upbringing. What made you a numbers-oriented human being?
Yep.
Is that something you always wanted to do? It's never been something I've been good at.
Yeah.
And you have to listen and let your ego go, and not think that people can't know about my past. You know, they need to see only what's in front of them. Yeah, man, I got some demons in my closet. All right. What do you want from me? You want me to be Mother Teresa? You know what I'm saying? I'm not. I'm sorry. That's not what you're getting with me. So that's just worked very well. And I try to teach my team that, because they think being a professional means you can only talk numbers and business. And no, that's not what being a professional means.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. If that helps.
Yeah, when people don't care until they know, they feel that you care, right? And that's one of the principles that I have learned over the last 3 years coaching agents, is that agents don't care, right? They don't care. So it takes a lot to show them that you care, so then they care, right? So and I have seen that over and over again over the last 3 years, is that, hey, try to meet people where they are and to really show them that you care, and then they would care, right? Now, finally, looking into the future, right? And that's when we can have the NAR conversation, right? What mindset do you believe real estate professionals, and I think you guys are on the same boat as we are with this whole situation that's about to unfold in the industry, right? What mindset do we need to have to adapt, or adopt, either one, right? To thrive in the ever-changing landscape of this industry? What changes are coming? We can't even possibly up until July, we probably won't even know, right? What will unfold, how the sellers will react, how the buyers will react, and because of their reaction, how the market would react, right? So, but how can we be proactive with our mindset with this, and how can we adapt quickly to be able to, thriving in this business?
So I love that question. I'll give you my insight. And one more thing too, but my mentor, you said something that made me smile. My mentor would tell me all the time, it's actually on my wall in the office over there. He said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of in line with what you were saying. In regards to the future, here's my approach on it. Number one, you got to be empathetic towards each other. I think it is important to make sure, look at that. I think it is important to make sure that we're empathetic towards each other. Like, hey, look, I know this is a lot going on right now. I'm very aware of that for you and for me. I don't know the future. Number two, get factual information. Yeah. Do not take bait into the emotional portion of it. Do not take the clickbait. Do not just go through on all this stuff. Go do real research and due diligence. Number three, if you really want to know, call real estate attorneys. Yeah. Tons of them out there. Tons of them out there. Go partner up with your friends. Go pay $300 for an hour, whatever it might be. Go find a professional. Go get 10 of your friends. Throw in $30 a pop. I mean, don't pretend that I can't. It's too expensive. No, it's not. Okay, you guys can muster up $30 to get. By the way, what are you getting? Facts. Facts are what? Knowledge for $30. If I can get some knowledge, I'll take it. Yeah. So that's the third part. Go do your real research and due diligence. And the fourth part for me is, for the last 100 years plus, the same thing has happened. The market corrects itself, always has, always will. Take your time, focus on what you can control. When you deliver information, make sure it is factual. Yeah. Do not just make things up because you think this is right. That is honestly the mindset that I'm telling my agents and my loan officers to have alike.
Yeah. And thank you. Thanks for the advice. Thanks again, John. really, really appreciate everything you're doing. Definitely having a positive impact on the industry and the people that you work with and in your environment. And again, looking forward to collaborate with you more. If you got any last words, would love to end with your words.
First of all, thank you for that. It's very kind of you. Thank you for the questions as well. It means a lot. You obviously thought this out. And so I want to say thank you. I've been getting a lot more requests to be on podcasts, interviews. And so it does feel nice, man, that you're doing your due diligence. And I just want to say I'm very appreciative of you doing that first and foremost. The thoughts I'll leave you with is this, I guess, pretty simple. I know it's hard. I know it's very difficult for a lot of people to do this. You got to start taking responsibility for what you have in your life. There are people in this world that do have disadvantages, okay? That do have situations that are out of their control. Yeah. The majority, though, do not. And if you're in that majority that's constantly down on yourself, as hard as it might be or feel, go find somebody. There are people out there that are willing to help for free. I promise you, they're everywhere. But you have to be willing to go look, and you got to be willing to submit to have those conversations with people and let go of that ego. Yeah. You got two hands, and some people don't even have that. And so if you do have that and you got a brain and you can speak, you can have conversations, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Go have conversations. Go build something special. No one is supposed to do anything for you. You're supposed to do it for yourself. So I hope that helps. That's what I'll leave the group with.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. And those of you who listened in, as always, these episodes are sponsored by Boss Agents Academy, where we help agents and brokers reach more people, change more lives, and create freedom. Until the next time, see you guys.